Hi, everybody. I'm Rogers Haley, the host of Rogers That, a podcast dedicated to selling without selling out. No matter what you do, whether it's business, whether it's economics, whether it is professional sports, which leads us to our guest today. I had the absolute honor of being a part of this young stud's career as a collegiate athlete at SMU here in Dallas. I met him through a program called Life After Ball, where ironically, the program was designed to go and help shepherd the future generation of athletes that may or may not play professional sports, whether they wanted to be a firefighter, they wanted to be a teacher, or in this case, they wanted to be a professional football player. And luckily, by the grace of God, last year, one of the gentlemen I got to work with was our guest today, Grant Calcaterra. He is a Californian by way of Texas and Oklahoma, now lives in Philadelphia. He plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. He has become a great friend. I've been able to watch his journey from being a man of faith, a humble servant leader, someone who has become a star on and off the field, but most importantly, he is soon to be a husband. And so today we're going to talk about all this. So Grant, thanks for joining us today, and thanks for being a guest.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
I want to start with the most important question, your hair product. If you could please tell us today what you actually are wearing and how many dabbles, how many hand scoops you have. Let's start with that because I tell you what, man, you got a lot of gifts, but one of the greatest gifts is a great head of man hair. So what are you wearing today?
I got to be honest with you. I don't use anything except for water and a little slick back in the morning, and I just let it go. So this is just about 30 minutes post shower. Gonna
Wow.
get into open air here pretty soon and just let it go.
Golly, blessed,
Yeah,
just absolutely blessed.
yeah.
Um, so maybe introduce yourself to us, and you're a football player, you're a man of many things, but maybe give us a little bit of background where we can fall in love with you, like I fell in love with you last year, and I fall in love with you even deeper this morning after seeing that incredible piece of furniture above your lip. Have you given your mustache a name yet?
No, I haven't. Yeah, so about the facial hair, just on a bye week, just letting myself be a little bit lazy. I got to shave today because of a wedding tomorrow. My fiance's sister's getting married tomorrow, so that's why I'm here in Carlsbad. Um, but yeah, I guess just a little bit about myself. Roger said it all. Really, I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and grew up in Southern California. Played sports all my life. Um, Football eventually led me to play at Oklahoma. Played there for a few years. Had some health, some injuries, so I actually stepped away from football for a year. Um, so decided to come back to football a year later, and that's what led me to SMU, where I met Rogers, and was lucky enough to get drafted by the Eagles and join my first season.
I'll tell you what. So not just any Eagles season. I believe that Eagles are undefeated as we film this at the end of October. You just beat the ever living crap out of the hometown Dallas Cowboys. But that's the short version of someone who has beat the statistics across the board. And maybe give us a little dive because this program that Grant and I met through, it's one of the most special things I've ever been a part of. And Grant and I would have conversations about maybe him being a firefighter, and the conversation evolved into, what do you do when you make your first real check? And now Grant's a homeowner, and he's done these things that most people don't do until they're my age, but he's done it at a very, very early age. But the whole premise of this podcast is, giving inspiration to the future leaders and current leaders, where when you get to the top, it's okay to be humble versus, be a sellout. And so with you, you've played at the top level of everything, but maybe what was your journey even to becoming a college athlete, that pursuit, and knowing that you're, a highly sought after athlete, and you chose, two of the biggest football programs in the country in OU and SMU. But what was that headspace dealing with that as a high school kid, still impressionable like you are now, but maybe walk us through that pursuit as a, someone that was really wanted.
Yeah, I would say in high school, I mean, really, as a freshman, sophomore, I didn't really, I wanted to play college football. My ultimate goal really was to go to Penn, University of Pennsylvania. I wanted to go play in the Ivy
Really?
League because I wanted to set myself up for ironically life after ball. So really, I just you know for lack of better words, worked my ass off. I put in the extra time. Um, I remember in high school, coming in on weekends, doing some drills on the field with some teammates, guys who wanted it as bad as I did. And then I finally started to get some looks. Was going to some camps, getting some looks that way. Got a scholarship to a bunch of places. I chose Oklahoma because they had a tight end there, Mark Andrews, who was, obviously one of the best tight ends in the league now. And I knew I could come in and kind of fill his shoes whenever he left. So that's why I chose there. And really, I just wanted to play at the highest level. I always felt like I have the ability, and I just wanted to, compete against the best because I knew that would, make me better at the end of the day.
Which obviously here you are, but just again, part of your story that's I think extremely fascinating is you've had a different kind of obstacles, and I don't know whether it's sports related injuries or having to be a backup, or obviously you got drafted in the NFL, but what was that like? And knowing that people that are watching this, they might be Eagles fans, Sooners fans, Mustangs fans, but they're just a Grant fan. But how did you stay in that headspace of remaining humble, a man of faith? With Sophie the whole time. But what was that journey like? And, what kind of wisdom can you share with us today?
You mean like when after Oklahoma, that whole process?
Yeah, but even like while you were there,
Yeah,
and I think that to play at the highest level and to play with, who was Baker your initial quarterback, or was it
it
Tanner?
was Baker. He was first.
So you've got a Heisman Trophy winner who is obviously a star in the NFL, and you were on the mountaintop, and then you got some stuff that was out of your control that you had to just deal with, and you don't have any quit in you, but obviously it's one thing to look back now in retrospect a few years and say that you dealt with it, but maybe walk us through what that journey was like as a man, where you were faced with something that most of us never face, but you were faced with it out of the blue, and you beat the crap out of it. So maybe explain that to us.
Yeah, so I'd say to kind of cover it all. As a freshman, I was a backup. I played behind Mark Andrews, which was difficult. I'd never been a backup in my life, so at that point, it was important to just stay the course, focus on what I can control, and I was confident that my time would come. And luckily enough, I was a starter the next 2 years. Played a ton of snaps. Had a bunch of touchdowns, won a bunch of games, all this and that. And like Rogers is pointing to, I had some injury issues. I had a problem with getting concussions. So I had 3 concussions in a year, and you know, as everybody in college, my goal was to play in the NFL, and that was looking really promising at that time. Um, a lot of people were saying I could get drafted fairly high, and so I was really excited about that. And then, after my third concussion, I actually decided to step away from football, which was, obviously really difficult. Um, I was just kind of, at that time weighing the options, and I felt like for my long-term health, the best thing for me to do is to step away, which was really difficult. Um, so yeah, that was really tough. I ended up finishing school, and my next goal was to be a fireman, and so I kind of just jumped right into that. Um, I graduated from OU. I enrolled in EMT school right away in Chandler, Arizona. So I went to Arizona, and then it was a 2-week program, and COVID hit in the middle of our program, and so I left.
Oh,
I
wow.
left Oklahoma with the full intention of coming back, and I never went back. I I finished school, EMT school, went to California, and just kind of started from there. I eventually had to come back and pack up all my stuff in Norman, Oklahoma. But yeah, I was just right back into California, working construction. I enrolled in community college to get a fire technology degree. I was interviewing for jobs to be a fireman, so just kind of went full 360 there. But the thing that was important to me at that time was, I've even talked to you about this, is we always say the only constant in life is change, and I think the most successful people adapt to change the best. And so, right when I stopped playing football, for me, it was okay. What else do I have passion for? And it was firefighting. So I just jumped right into it as fast as I could, and that helped me make that transition.
And I'm gonna call a timeout on you because this is not just any kind. This is just how big of a badass Grant is. Grant is as much of a man's man as I am not, but this is not just. I mean, any firefighter is a hero and a stud, but maybe let us know the kind of firefighting that you actually were most interested in.
Yeah, you talking about the wildland stuff?
Yeah.
So that was a one of the avenues that you can go. Um, there's wildland firefighting, which is obviously in California we have a ton of wildfires, and so wildland firefighters will go in for weeks at a time just to you kind of camp out in the woods and try to fight fire without water, which is pretty tough and dangerous. And so that was one of the avenues that I was interested in. It's a good kind of stepping stone for eventually being in a department and doing those kinds of things. So um, I was close to doing that for a while.
And then back to the journey. So you enroll in school. You're just kind of a figured out guy, and then maybe you heard about this real estate guy named Rogers in Dallas, and you're like, how can I, spend time with them? I guess I'll just
Playing
start playing
football,
football
yeah,
again. Yeah.
that's exactly what happened.
So
Yeah,
yeah. Well, the full circle. Here we are. But no, for real. I mean, you pack up your stuff in Norman. You kind of say goodbye to what you thought was the first phase of your life, on to the next thing, interviewing for jobs, and then what was the light bulb moment that brought you back into something that was probably your first love?
yeah, I would say it's hard. It's like so many things, but ultimately, I didn't want to live with regret, and I feel like if I didn't give it a shot, I would always, wake up every now and then and wonder, okay, what would it be like if I went back to football? What would it have been like if I never stopped? And so I kind of figured, I can make this switch now. It's going to be really hard to make this switch, 5 years from now. So I just wanted to give it another shot. Um, and like you said, football has always been my first love, and I would have, it would have hurt a lot to live with regret, really. And so I just I said I'm going to take one more stab at this. I know I've put myself way behind the eight ball, you know, uh, way further back than I've ever been. But I knew if I was good enough, I would get a shot. And all you need is an opportunity. And I feel like I was lucky enough to get drafted, but um, I got an opportunity, and so I'm trying to take advantage of it.
Well, even that, the preparation where you go to a new school, this whole transfer portal, which I got educated on so many things with my friendship with Grant. But at what point throughout the season last year did you actually get into the headspace once again, like, okay, this is my time, and this is where I can go and fulfill a lifelong dream while still staying humble and staying kind. What was that process like? Did you get a new dog with your rookie contract?
No,
Is that a
that
puppy?
is Sophie's dog. One of the three dogs that are here right now. They're obnoxious. Yeah, they're going
So
crazy.
what was that like? Like knowing that you were a big man on campus at another campus. Now you had a familiar quarterback that used to play with you at
Right.
OU, and so you had that chemistry. But at what point? These are questions I never asked you. But at what point during the season did you actually know? All right, here we are again. I've got a chance.
Yeah, no, I'll from when I first got to SMU, it was actually pretty weird because you go from college and then you're in the real world, whatever, and then I'm back in college. So at first it was like, man, I'm not used to these coaches like getting on me. Like I kind of feel like a grown man now, and now I'm back in college and whatever. So that was a little weird at first, feeling like I'm older, and then being back in college. But it really didn't take very long to feel a part of the team and everything like that. But I would say there's probably two times where I felt I'm back and I'm in the groove, which was my first spring practice, which was like 548 days since I had last put on a football helmet.
Oh my
I
gosh.
remember I ran a route. It was a corner route. We called the play read. It's like a corner hitch combination. I caught a nice ball. Um, and now, I popped up real fast and I was like, man, I'm back. And oddly enough, I went and watched that practice, and I remember thinking like, damn, I'm really moving. Like I feel really good. I remember I watched the tape and I was like, damn, dude, you're not looking that fast. You got a lot of work to do. But it felt good to be back out there. And then I would say my first game, um, we had a few plays in the game plan for me, and I remember it was our first drive, and we were on the 25-yard line maybe, and it was like a four verts concept, and I knew the Mike was going to have to run with me, and I knew that I could outrun him. And I just kind of had that feeling with Tanner. We always had a great connection, and so ball snapped, and first ever pass to me in SMU was a touchdown. And so at that point, I just kind of let all the emotions out. Was super fired up,
Hmm.
and it was just a great moment for me and for Tanner, really, because he actually threw me my last pass ever at Oklahoma. Um,
Oh
the
wow.
pass that I ended up getting injured on. So yeah, it all kind of comes full circle, and that was a really great moment for him and for me.
Man, that's so special. I'm sure it was kind of a redemption for him too, or his memory of being associated with something negative turned into something
Yeah. Oh,
uh,
absolutely. Yeah. It was awesome.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, with all this success, and again, I never will understand this. I'll never experience success like you've had, and God did not give me the gifts. Where other than I think I've got decent hair, but this
You.
takes a ton of product. But all the lessons, all the lessons that you learned throughout this, and having incredible coaches, incredible mentors, and access to all this kind of stuff. Do you feel like you had the mental preparation for playing sports at a professional level? Do you feel like you can look back and think about these moments that were kind of paramount, where football actually taught you a lot of stuff other than just how to run a route?
Yeah. No, and I feel like it's all stepping stones because I feel like now even I learned so much about football and how to be a pro and but really I feel like like you said, there's so many times and little league, high school, college, professional football where I've learned so many lessons and you know even some of the lessons that are most important are some that I learned really early. Like I remember my coach in high school was big on attitude and effort. He says those are the two things that you can control, and I feel like that's true now. Like especially in the NFL as a rookie, it's like you're going to make mistakes, you're going to get you know you're going to mess up, and so I think it's guys who play the hardest, guys who have the best attitude, that growth mindset. Something I learned at SMU and in class and my master's degree classes. But like you said, I think it's a lot of the lessons that kind of build on each other, um, and that helps. Being in tune with yourself, knowing yourself as an athlete and as a person that have helped me be successful.
Yeah. So, what was the preparation like? Again, for all of us ignorant people that didn't get scouted to play college or go pro, what was that like? Where you had to graduate? Did you get a master's degree at SMU as well?
I'm not done with it.
Uh,
Yeah, I got like two-thirds of the way
okay.
done.
So you're back in school again, and then it's time to actually prep for the NFL draft. The season's over. What was that like? I mean, walk us through the getting an agent and going and figuring out where you're going to train, which I think you trained in California,
Yep.
and then leading up to the actual draft day, where I'm sure there was some nervous energy in there, but you ended up obviously getting selected by one of the most storied franchises in any sport ever. But what was that like? Where again the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset, but also not letting. I would never just use the word ego with you at all, where most people in your situation, given a God-given gift and the ability to go and do this, would make decisions that probably were not great long-term decisions. But how did you capture that, and then how did you prep for the NFL draft?
Yeah, I would say that time was really stressful. Honestly, you gotta make a lot of decisions, and you gotta do all the right things, and then at the end of the day, you gotta get lucky. But first off, you have to make a decision on an agent, and for me, it came down to trust. And the guy that I ended up going with was, really reputable, has a ton of guys in the NFL. And it's also a guy that I've known since I was like 14 years old. I went to high school with his son, who's a year younger than me, oddly enough.
Oh,
So
cool.
it really came down to trust and, do these guys really have your best interest? Do they have a ton of relationships with guys in the NFL? Are they going to be honest with you, or are they going to be, the guy, oh yeah, you're going to get drafted in the second round, and then you don't get drafted, and you see that happen all the time. And so what I liked about my guy is this: he was always honest with me. He said, honestly, it's a long shot. You're going to be lucky to get drafted, just because of your medical history. So there was that. I ended up picking the right guy. I went to the Senior Bowl, which is they pick. I think it's like maybe around 150 of the top seniors in college, and so I was lucky enough to go to that. And what's tough about that is you play your last college game in December, and then the Senior Bowl is the last week in January, and so it's like, okay, I'm spending all this time getting ready for football to play one game. And so it's kind of like the biggest interview of your life. So you spend a whole week in Mobile, Alabama, competing against the best seniors in college football. And so I had a pretty good week there. I played all right. I did great in the interviews. And then what's tough about that is you play that game, then you have a month until the combine, which is really difficult. So you got to get out of football shape, get into combine shape, which is completely different. And
What's the difference in, what do you mean?
like
How's that?
football, I mean, training for football, it's like, you're running routes, you're blocking people, you're going over X's and O's. And then for the combine, it's just like you train so hard for like 6 drills. It's like you're not even after I mean, when I was doing the combine stuff, it's like I could never, I feel like I'm not really a football player right now. I'm more like a track athlete, is kind of how it is.
Hmm.
And so I went to the combine, uh, which is another obstacle that I had to overcome. I actually sprained my ankle a week before the combine.
No way.
Yeah, and so I actually planned on not doing anything, and just doing all of my testing at Pro Day. But I decided to do the 40-yard dash, the bench press, and I did the position drills. I did great at the 40-yard dash. It was the third fastest time for tight ends on a sprained ankle, which I was happy with. I thought I could do faster, but I'll take it. I tested well, interviewed well. Um,
What kind of questions do they ask you in the interviews?
a lot of football IQ stuff. They'll ask you about plays that you ran in college. Draw up your favorite play. Get on the whiteboard, draw up your favorite play. Draw it up against this specific defense. So you really got to have a lot of knowledge of football IQ, and then really it's just kind of like your basic
Wow.
interview. Like they'll just ask you basic interview questions. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about a time you overcame adversity. Um, stuff like that. Tell me about your family. Tell me about your time at Oklahoma versus SMU. Um, you know,
Is it each team interviews you, or is it one master interview?
so at the Senior Bowl, you meet with all 32 teams. It's like speed dating.
Oh
You
my
meet with
God.
half one day, half the next day, and it's like 4.5 hours each day. And so
Oh my
it's
God.
physically and mentally exhausting. And at the combine, it's different. You basically just go into a big open room, and just people will just grab you. Um, and so sometimes you could have a ton of interviews, sometimes you don't have any. And so that's kind of like the mental part of it too during that whole time is like, I mean, I'm not getting grabbed that much. Does that mean that they're not interested in me, or does that mean, I'm a kind of a clean cut guy and they don't really have anything on me? It's kind of playing that mind game. And so really, I would say that whole NFL draft process is more mentally draining because it's just like, man, I just want this day to come and I want to know, am I getting drafted? Am I not? Where am I going? And so that's, it's so cliche, but that whole time is all control what you can control. And whatever happens, happens. And so that time's stressful, but I couldn't be happier with what happened for me.
So you get there. So the NFL draft, how many days long is it?
It's 3 days.
So it's 3 days long, and you got your agent who you trust. He's speaking wisdom to you, also speaking, very black and white, which I think is great. And your name is called. You're in the sixth round, and did you know that it was about to happen, or were you just sitting there, kind of pins and needles each pick?
Um, I I felt good about it. I remember, I mean, most of the time there's like 10 tight ends drafted in the draft, and I knew this was a really deep tight end class. And so the third day of the draft came, and they had, not that you know this matters, but they had guys, best guys available for the day three. And I remember I was up there, and I felt good. There were a lot of tight ends that were getting picked, and so I knew mine had a chance to be called. And then I think it was the middle of the sixth round. I actually got a call from one of my former OU coaches, who is now the head coach of South Carolina. And he told me, "Hey, I just got off the phone with the Eagles." He said they don't know if they're going to draft. They don't know if they're going to draft you, but they really like you. And if they don't draft you, they want to take you as a free agent. And so in my mind, that was like, okay, the Eagles are off the board. They don't want to draft me. They want to take me as a free agent, because at that time, teams will start calling you and saying, "Hey, we want to take you as a free agent." It's almost like recruiting all over again, and which is crazy in itself, because you get a phone call and you're like, "Oh, I'm going to get drafted," and then you answer and it's like, "We want to take you as a free agent." But
Oh,
so that's pretty. I've heard horror stories about that.
oh,
Yeah, like guys will get calls in like the fifth round, and yeah, it's heartbreaking. But anyway, there was, um, 20 minutes went by, and I got a call from, a Philadelphia area code, and I really thought it was going to be, we want to take you as a free agent, but it was Howie Roseman, and he said, "We're going to take you with our next pick." And I was like, holy shit, are you serious? I think those are my first words. But yeah, that's what I said, and was obviously so excited. I almost didn't believe it. And I had my whole family there. My fiance was there as well, and yeah, it was awesome. It just felt like a huge weight off my shoulders. I could finally relax, and it was great. My parents had actually planned like they didn't, like I said, they didn't know if I was going to get drafted, so they kind of had like a party on hold. And so once I got the call, a bunch of family and friends came over, and we celebrated, and it was awesome.
my flight got canceled. I couldn't come. I was there in spirit.
Yeah.
Uh, Man, so here we are again. You're drafted. You're at the peak of your life, your worldly life, other than Sophie. And you know how many teams are in the NFL?
32.
32. So 1 in 32 chance you end up in the city of brotherly
Mm-hmm.
love, and you show up, and it's starting over again,
Yep.
right? And you have to still make the team. You got to make it all happen. But maybe give us the shortened version of what it was like to be an actual, which you still are, but you're 7, 8 weeks into being a professional athlete, on your resume. But what was that like being an actual rookie for a franchise with another Heisman winning quarterback in Jalen? And you've got, probably the most rabid fan base ever, which is probably comparable to OU. But what was that headspace like, knowing that you had to prove yourself, but you had to stay, you're a very stable and sturdy person. What was that journey like for you, even though it was a relatively short one?
Yeah, it was great. I feel like I'm really lucky with the organization, because they they're huge on player development. They really want guys to be in the system and see what they can get out of them. Like, they want to get the most out of all their players, and so I really felt like I was going to have a lot of opportunities to show what I can do, and so that was really great. But like you said, it's like I go from being so excited to being drafted to know it's like, okay, I'm leaving in like 5 days. Like, now it's like, all right, now there's still a lot of unknowns. Like, I still got to make the team. I'm the last. I was their last pick. Like, I really got to prove myself. And so, I did great. Whenever I was whenever I was in there, I did a lot of good things, but I don't even know if you know this. Our third practice in camp, was having a great camp, pulled my hamstring. So
Oh
pulled
no.
my hamstring, was going to miss 3 weeks. So I missed first preseason game, second preseason game, and then I'm I'm able to go the last week of camp with our last preseason game against Miami. And so I'm like, all right, this is it. Like if I don't do well, I'm gonna get cut, and my chances are done. So we went to Miami to practice against them. It's about 100 degrees, 90% humidity. It's the hottest practice I've ever been a part of. And so I go practice. I do pretty well, but this is the most tired I've ever been in my life. I lose like 11 pounds of sweat, cramping, can barely think, can barely see. I'm just like this is. I was like, that practice. I was like fighting for my life. Like I was like, this is my whole career on the line. So I'm just trying to survive. So I practiced the first day. Second day, we cancel practice because their whole team gets sick. So I'm like, man, that was my only chance. One practice. So we go to play. We go to play in the game, and I play pretty well. And then cut to the next week, and I was like, I really didn't know because while I was out, all of our tight ends were doing really, really good. We have a really talented room, and so I really thought, that might be it for me. I'm probably going to get a call, and I'm going to get cut, and that's going to be it. But I never got a call, so that's no news is good news. So I knew I made the team, and yeah, I've overcame adversity my whole life, and so I felt like this was just another test. Like, I accomplished my goal, which was to get drafted, and then boom, another bout of adversity in my face. And like we always say, I was able to control what I can control. When my opportunities came, I did enough, and I made the team, and here we are, 6-0.
Did you consider just turning your cell phone off for the week? And that way,
I couldn't get a call. Yeah, that would have been smart.
if I don't answer, I don't get cut.
Yeah, that's true. No, that day was tough. It was like, I mean, you don't have anything that day, so it's like you just wake up and just wait. And so I was just,
Oh God.
I don't even know what I did. I think I just watched Survivor or something on Netflix or something just to keep my mind off of it. But
Oh.
I was
So you make the team.
make the team.
You get to pick your jersey number.
After you make the team, yeah, I had some options. It was either 81, 82, or I think that was it. Yeah, 81 or 82, and I chose 81.
What was that surreal? I can't imagine picking my professional sports jersey number.
It was good. I mean, as weird as it sounds, 47 did kind of grow on me. Um, it's a pretty gritty number, but yeah, no, I had to get out of it. Had to get in the 80s.
So while we're on the topic of jerseys, I don't know if you know this, but I've been asking you for a jersey now for a few years. So we're going to end with that
It's on
question.
the
But
way.
okay, so here you make the team. You get to start posting really fun Instagram pictures and your really cool suits with your tight end bro
Yeah,
pack,
yeah,
um, and you get your first catch.
yeah.
Your first catch at SMU is a touchdown. Can you walk us through your first catch as a professional football player for the Philadelphia Eagles? How many yards was it, sir?
40.
40 yards. So what was that like, knowing that here you are once again, sweet redemption, your first catch? What was that feeling like? Did you play it cool because it was obviously in a game? Was it just like, was it slow motion when the ball was coming at you? What did that feel like?
It felt great. I mean, I remember, some guys were a little banged up, and so I had an opportunity to go in there. And I remember my coach said, just go have fun, like winked at me or something. He's real cool. He lets me play loose and everything. And so um, he was he was awesome. He didn't make. I mean, I'm not really a nervous guy anyway, but he always makes you feel like he's got all the confidence in you in the world. And so yeah, I remember the play. I remember going, okay, this could go to me here if it's the right coverage. And then I ran like a deep over, and there was nobody around me, and so I figured, okay, ball's coming to me, and Jalen put it right on the Jalen put it right on the money, and I caught it, made a good move, and got some yards.
Golly, did you keep the ball?
No, I didn't keep the ball.
I was going to ask for it.
Yeah.
So, another dream realized, and here you are at such a young age, and you've got so much wisdom and discernment, and a word I would use to describe you is steady. And we reached a point in the interview in your episode where we ask you the cliche stuff. Where I'd love to know the advice you would give to somebody, like the best advice you've received, whether it's control what you can control, stay focused or stay humble. But what's the advice you give somebody, whether it's a future former athlete, it's one of your teammates, it's someone like me? What would you give somebody as far as the best wisdom you could impart on them?
That's tough. I mean, I would say almost honestly, the theme of my life or my career in football has honestly been, um, it's been overcoming adversity, and it's been overcoming or controlling what I can control. Like in high school, it took a long time for me to get looks from colleges, and all I had to do was overcome that adversity and control what I can control, and work hard at what I knew was going to help me be successful. And that's what I've done, kind of in every phase of my football career in very different ways. In college, it was stepping away from football, and overcoming that adversity. And when it came to firefighting, it's a long, hard process getting hired. And so, I controlled what I can control, and put my best foot forward, made connections, leaned on people. And then at SMU, the same thing. Rogers was somebody I was able to lean on, because I didn't know if my professional career was going to make it. We talked a lot about, personal development, putting yourself in your best position to be successful as a professional whenever it is life after ball for you. And so, that's what I would say. Control what you can control. Adversity is always going to be there, and it's about how you react to adversity, how you react to change is kind of what'll help you be successful.
I love it, man. This is awesome. Just a off-color question: who plays you in the movie? Like, who's playing Grant in 20 years? I could probably play you, but I'm probably busy. Who plays you in the movie?
Oh, I have no idea. It'd probably have to be a young guy. Oh man, I have no idea.
Bradley Cooper is what he just texted me. Bradley Cooper will play
He,
Grant the
he's
movie.
an Eagles fan.
What are you? Oh yeah, he is an
He's an
Eagles
Eagles.
fan. He's from
Yeah, he
Philly.
was at one of our games.
Really, Silver Linings Playbook was filmed in Philly, I think.
Yeah.
So what are you remembered for? You look back, when you're my age, you're a lot older, and you've done all these things, and you found success pretty damn quickly. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you think your legacy is going to be?
Oh man. Honestly, I feel like, most importantly, just I feel like what you're remembered for is kind of how your peers talk about you, and I feel like people would say that I'm an easygoing guy. Um, when it comes to, I'm a great teammate. Um, I work my ass off. I always put the team first, and I feel like you could always say you can count on me to step in for the team. To make a big play, to do the right thing, to help guys out. I feel like I've always done a good job of, um, you know, passing it forward. Helping the young guy out, because I know, somebody did it for me. So I feel like just that. That's kind of what I want to be remembered for.
I love it. Last question. How do we support you? How do we find you online?
Mm.
How do we become more than just a fan? What's the best way to support Grant Calcaterra and his mission?
Oh man. Um, that's hard to say right now.
Well, let's start with low level. What's your Instagram handle,
Instagram
please?
handle is grant.calc, CALC.
So there's one way to
There's one
support, but
way.
what else can we do to
There's
support
one
you?
way, and I know later on in the season I'm going to be involved in um some charities, some firefighting charities back in California to help, you know, families of fallen firefighters. The National Fallen Firefighter Foundation is one that I'm going to be associated with. Um, it helps, you know, families of fallen firefighters. You know, gives them financial support, helps their kids go to school, go to college, kind of anything that they need. I'm going to be affiliated with them here pretty soon, and so I really don't need anything, but I know, you know, those kids, those families will need something. So uh, um, we do a thing in the NFL called My Cleats, My Cause, and so that's the one that I'm going to be associating myself with, and so that would help me out, I guess. That would help me feel good about spreading awareness because, you know, it's a big issue around the country, especially California. And so I really don't need anything, but you know, that would make me feel good if you guys could help that foundation.
Yeah, we'll wait for this to air until that's all set up, and
Yeah,
that way the timing of it is
cool.
strategic. Well, man, I'm proud to be your friend, and it's been so fun just taking a front row seat to everything you've done in a short amount of time of us being friends. But congrats! This has been a lot of fun chatting with you. I'm glad we finally got to do
Yeah,
it, and we'll keep rooting for you. And for the biggest thing you've got coming up is your upcoming wedding. So I know
July.
that's going to
Yep,
be the coolest thing we've ever
yep.
experienced. So thanks for being a part of this. Thanks for being a friend, and thanks for making us proud.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Hi, I'm Grant Calcaterra. This is how you sell without selling out. Roger's that.